When the Switch 2 got announced and was revealed to be $450, I'll be honest, I was surprised. This is $150 more than the original Switch, and despite what Twitter wants you to think, you get pretty much every upgrade you could ask for. No, it's not as powerful as a PS5, but it also doesn't cost as much as a PS5, and it's portable. Especially taking inflation into account here, I think this console releasing in 2025 for just $450 is a good deal. And the only reason you didn't see that sentiment being shared online was because Nintendo was making very strange decisions regarding the prices of other things. I'm not going to defend $80 for Mario Kart World, $90 for a Pro Controller, $40 amiibo, $10 or $20 upgrade packs for games that you already own, but the console itself was pretty reasonably priced. Throw in an extra $50 and you get Mario Kart World with it. You don't have to pay $80 for that game. But of course, it was too good to be true. We knew there was going to be a price increase, we just didn't know when. And just last week, Nintendo finally announced the $50 price increase. But the good news is that at least here in the US, it doesn't take effect until September. So if you want to Switch 2, you still have a few months to buy it for the original price, which is kind of weirdly generous. And you can tell Nintendo really isn't happy about this, and we're kind of just forced to raise the price, mostly because of memory shortages thanks to AI. And they were actually pretty apologetic. So coming up on a year since the launch of the Switch 2, I wanted to get my general thoughts on the console and some of the biggest complaints that people have right now. Starting with that new price tag. Do I think this console is worth $500? Absolutely fucking not. But this was inevitable, and no other consoles or PC parts are worth their price right now. And to be honest, I don't even know if they're going to profit that much off of $500. So if you were considering buying a Switch 2, waiting for more games to release, just get it now, because instead of console prices going down after time, we now have the opposite. And it's Nintendo, guys. The games are going to release regardless. They also announced a new bundle for $500. You get the console plus a game of your choice, either being Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, or Pokemon Pokopia. And I'm assuming this is going to be on shelves until the price raise goes into effect. We already have a $500 Mario Kart World bundle, but it's nice that you can now bundle the console with the other big system sellers, because before, I couldn't imagine not getting the Mario Kart World bundle. Like, you're going to buy Nintendo's new big console and not get the new big Mario Kart game to go with it for a discounted price. But now I kind of get it, because you probably already own Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Like, statistically, you probably do. And after playing World for a year, I really don't see this being the definitive Mario Kart, and I really hope there's a big update on the way. Maybe I'll make a full review for this game down the line, but since it's the launch title for the Switch 2 and arguably Nintendo's biggest release this decade, or at least in the top 5, I figured I'd say my piece here. Moment-to-moment gameplay in Mario Kart World races is so good. Everything feels so smooth, the game looks amazing, the soundtrack is insane, but oh my god, there is so much missed potential here. I'm gonna sound like a broken record here talking about how underwhelming the free roam or entire open world concept is, and I think everyone can agree that the method to unlock characters should have been by doing some objectives in free roam and not by that fuck-ass Kamek item. But even that wouldn't be enough to save it, in my opinion. The P-Switch missions are fun. Some of them are genuinely challenging, but you really just have to boot up free roam and aimlessly drive around to find them. If it was all just in a contained menu where you pick a new mission to go to and slowly unlock them over time, I can guarantee I would have completed every single one of them by now. And how on God's green earth did we create this giant open world and not make a campaign mode? Boot up the 2006 Cars video game and you'll probably have more fun in playing that than you would just wandering around the Mario Kart free roam. I could complain about the intermission tracks that aren't actually called intermissions, by the way, but that's what the community calls them, so whatever, I'll go with it. But you've definitely heard enough criticism about that already. I think online is in a pretty good state right now, but it would have been a no-brainer to vote for an intermission track or specifically pick the 3-lap variant of that track instead of just hoping for a 3-lap track to appear randomly. And as for the actual track selection, it's okay. It's really jarring going from 96 tracks in 8 Deluxe to just 30. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of filler to get to 96. The world tracks are generally way higher quality, and I damn near teared up playing Rainbow Road for the first time. But it still feels like there's so much more variety in 8 Deluxe. We're also straight up missing the inclusion of any Game Boy and Wii U tracks, and how the fuck did this industry plant ass track sneak its way into this game again? And 9 years after the original release of Mario Kart 8, we finally got Diddy Kong in the Booster Course Pass just to not include him in World. Where is Diddy? Can we please get a hashtag free Diddy? I'd really like to take the controls and the mechanics of World and just port them to 8 Deluxe to create the actual ultimate Mario Kart game. And I probably wouldn't be as critical of this game and its entire open world concept if it weren't for the $80 price tag and the fact that it was the first new Mario Kart game in 11 years. We're not counting that one. So look, I still have fun with this game, but every time I'm playing it, I just know in the back of my head that it could be so much better. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Would you rather have unlimited bacon, but no more video games, or games, unlimited games, but no games. Well, if you chose the second option, you're in luck. Let me introduce you to the Nintendo Classics GameCube library. I personally don't care that Mario Sunshine hasn't been added yet because I happen to own 3D All-Stars, and that looks to be the definitive way to play that game with the upgrades that it got. But it's been over a year since this service got announced and almost a year since it released. So how exactly is Sunshine not already on there, and how the hell is this our selection? Now, yeah, there are good games here. Some of these are pretty obvious choices, but oh my god, can we get a move on with this? Growing up in the early 2000s, the GameCube, Wii, and DS are by far my most anticipated consoles to revisit as a part of the NSO library, but the way it's looking, we'll be lucky to get another GameCube game in the next 5 months. I'd love to play Mario Kart Double Dash, the GameCube era Mario Party games, Smash Melee, maybe give Animal Crossing a try, Sonic Riders, revisit the absolute peak that is Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, and the insane third-party library like some of the early LEGO Star Wars games. How the fuck is there no way to play these games on modern Nintendo hardware? So GameCube Online has some really good potential. Remember the Cars video game that I mentioned before? In the early 2000s, there was this era where every big movie got a video game to go alongside it. Let's get those on GameCube Online. They're nothing crazy, but shit, sometimes a dude just wants to replay Ratatouille on his Switch. But yeah, we really have no idea what's going on with this GameCube game lineup, and it's honestly not too much different for new Switch 2 games either. I'm not going to be the guy complaining about the lack of games for this console. I actually think that it had a really solid first year. Obviously, it's going to get compared to the first year of the Switch, where we got new 3D Mario and Zelda games, but I mean, that's kind of just good timing for both of those franchises. There was a 6-year gap in between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, so there shouldn't be any expectation for a new 3D Zelda game anytime soon. And for Mario, I mean, Mario Titans is coming. It even got teased in the movie. But there's not much of a hype cycle. Nintendo just hasn't been doing as many directs recently. The main Switch 2 direct was in April of 2025, so sure, it makes sense to skip out on that June direct. But this year, we don't even get a February direct either. And it's not like they don't have stuff to announce. A few months back, they dropped a bunch of random news on Twitter, like a full trailer for Mario Wonders DLC. This past week, Miyamoto logged on and gave us a 15-minute heads up that they're dropping a Star Fox direct and announced a Star Fox 64 remake. And when the Switch 2 price increase got announced, Nintendo assured us that since we're buying this console and investing in this console, there will be more games coming out this year to make that purchase even more valuable. So in other words, Nintendo is developing games and eventually they'll release them. Yeah, no shit, dude. I sure hope so. Look, as I said, I'm pretty happy with the games we have right now. I also take forever to even get around to new games anyway, so earlier this year, I finally played Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and oh my god, that game was an absolute blast. And low-key, I still haven't played this yet, but I'll be streaming it on Twitch next week. Regardless, Nintendo Directs are events. I'll be honest, I don't end up caring about like 70% of the stuff they show off, but that hype cycle is a really fun time, and I love seeing the community's reaction to everything. And if you're lucky, every once in a while, that one last thing they show off has been the exact game you've been waiting for. I really do think the Switch 2 gets more hate than it deserves, but that doesn't mean Nintendo has been doing a perfect job. Hopefully we do end up getting a June Direct this year and get back on track to the regular cycle of 3 Directs each year, and I am just itching for them to formally announce Super Mario Titans.